Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors in Winston, Chester. Glad to hear this Monday morning. Got a great show lined up. Always, anytime you talk about outdoors, it's great, in my opinion. But first, let's do our weather, brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin and Highway 77, right in the middle of their programs out there. A good chance to go check them out. It's going to be hot again. It actually is going to go all the way up to 87, and the low is 75. And that water temperature, like I said last Friday, it really shot up toward the end of the week, and it's still around 86 degrees, 86.4. So it's really warm out there, and time and time again, I'm talking about fishing early. But you know, you talking about you could be fishing. It's daylight. You could be fishing right now. We've got these long days, so you can get on out there and be fished by 9 o'clock. You've got in good 3.5 hours to almost 4 hours of really good fishing, and that's a good block. And if you go out with a guide or something, you're gonna get a 4-hour trip. So you know, if you just point your time and you just get up early. I know some of y'all have trouble getting up early. Well, if you're taking other people, if you're a true outdoorsman, now you just jump out of bed and run. But if you're taking other people, sometimes they say, what time you want to go? And especially young people. But anyway, you just got to do it. But you get 4 hours in. That's you know, to me, that's a good trip right there. Let's move on with our Monday moon phase, brought to us by Sandhill Seafood. Full moon. Actually, you know, we got about two. It was full last night. It's going to be full tonight. It's going to be almost full tomorrow night. So really good sky that night, and it's going to be sort of spooky if you're out flounder gigging and all. The old timers and all just never would go around a full moon when you're flounder gigging. So, but the new moon, which is the ideal time to go, I wrote it down. It's going to be on the 22nd of this month, the new moon. So, anytime around 22nd and all, it'll be a really good time to go flounder gigging and crabbing. The tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn and Funeral Home and Cemetery. Today is the July the 10th, and we're looking at some really good tides most of the week. Pretty strong tides. We're looking at a high tide at 10:15 a.m. and a low tide at 8:58. Again, you got that incoming tide in the morning. It's really a good situation. July gets a sort of bum rap as far as fishing, but those incoming early morning tides are really high and really strong, and you can get on up in those areas, and it's really quiet and a lot of people out, so it's good fishing early. Now, I think you understand what I'm talking about. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So glad you're with us this morning. I really appreciate all the feedback we get for all the emails and pictures and all. I really do appreciate it. I enjoy it. I think it adds a lot to our show because it gives that, you know, we're real people doing real things. It's not really glossed over. We're just showing these things that we catch. Like this picture right here. Check this out. A ugly fish here and an ugly boy to go with it. How about Greg Gladden? Greg was a student a couple years ago. He was a catcher on a baseball team. Great kid. Loves to fish. If you recognize, you probably recognize where he's at. Right there, the Lynn Haven Bridge. First thing I did when I saw that picture, I got a hold of him and said, Greg, did you release that fish? And he sent back a message, yes, sir, I sure did. And so that's a big black drum, and they're fun to catch. Took a picture of it and put it head first down back in the water. So this is what I want to do. Those big fish like that, they're not good to eat. I don't care what anybody tells you, they're not good to eat. I mean, you got to be really, really starving to eat that fish, okay? And the worm to go with it. But good job, Greg Gladden. Move on. When I see ducks landing in my spread, I got it. Let me tell you this. I heard last week during the July 4th celebration, people were talking about their labs and all. A lot of people have labs and all. One guy said, my lab, when it starts hearing all that banging and all the fireworks and all, they just run and get up under the couch and run from that noise and all. What's your lab doing? The guy said, well, my lab hears those noises. He starts looking for ducks in the living room because he thinks there's going to be some ducks falling. I thought that was a great response to that. And a lot of people enjoy their dogs. I'm going to, let's see, here we go. Talk about, check this out. The 13th fish caught, listen, on the tag redfish now, they've caught 13, but they've only had 3 winners. So that's 10 people who are just miserable now because they were not registered. But here's the story right here. This is Captain John Lulay, first-time clients. They went on down. They caught a 28.5-inch star tag redfish, and he quickly found out they were not members. So going to the next page. Listen, this was fascinating. They caught this on what was the day? Anyway, they caught it last week. This fish was originally caught and released by Captain Jim Ross on April 12th. So about a couple months later, the fish was 27 inches, and upon release has grown 1.5 inches in the past 2.5 months. That's a fascinating study. So you see, not only the benefit, just different things, but one of the things in studying these redfish, you can see they wrote the tag number down and sent it in, and then it's called again, and neither time was it registered, okay? So they go and say, we still have a GMC pickup truck, a sea hunt boat, and all that. And then I just ran across the third winner right here, Jeff Miller, a longtime member. He's taken home, he decided to get the new Sea Hunt 22.5 foot, 200 Yamaha. He caught the 23-inch redfish. It was in Citrus County on July the 2nd, that was last week. They've given away over $200,000, which is, I checked it, they're gonna give away 3 prizes, that's still $200,000. That GMC truck is still there. It's funny how all 3 of those winners have taken boats, and I can see that too. That boat lasts you a long, long time. If you love to fish and all, that's one way to get a good boat. Okay, this is scallop. I'm gonna come back to scallops later. Here's a little email here or text. Hey, I just got around to watching the video of the mockingbirds and the snake. Fascinating. Having grown up on a farm, I've actually witnessed this before. I never miss your show, but I record it and watch it later sometimes 3 or 4 in a row. Keep up the good work. Charles Nichols, the Gentili Boys' grandfather. And I got a lot of comments on that mockingbird versus snake video we did last week. That was the original production of our staff, of our one-person staff. And Nick, the Gentili Boys, their granddad, there are 3 or 4 of those boys are just excellent kids, grandkids of his, and I was complimenting him on their behavior and the kind of quality and character those boys are. But thank you all for the feedback on that video, and it's really good. No one's seen it. If you have some friends out of town and want to see it, tell them watch it on YouTube. Some tournaments coming up now. I know it's a little bit about over a month away, but the catfish tournament is a little fuzzy here, but it's going to be down here in Weewall, August 25th and 26th. Go and put that on your calendar. The catfish tournament at Gaskin Park in Weewall. Then there's going to be one more in September. Along the same lines, the redfish tournaments, okay, it's going to be all the way down here at the bottom, the Emerald Coast division of it, August the 26th, and then September the 30th. So go ahead and put those on your calendar, August 26th. A lot of things going on in late August. Okay, and okay, let's go ahead. I'm at a point now. Let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. I want to talk about the scallop count. We mentioned it last week and all. They've officially come out with it. And maybe I'll show you the video this week of sort of how they do it in case we have some new viewers and all, but about the triangle and all. We told you Friday the count was 7 as compared to 2 last year. But I have the chart now. About 2 years ago, they started redoing the chart. If you remember all the years I've done in the past, for 8 years in a row, they did a bar graph, and it was really easy to read and all. And now they do this line graph, and it was a lot harder to read, and I guess maybe the scientists can understand it better than the layman. But I'm gonna have to sort of walk through this, and not that you won't have trouble understanding, but just hard because it's 4 different areas they're trying to put all on one graph. So let's take a look at it. And it's fuzzy. I know you're gonna have trouble seeing it's fuzzy. I'm just going to sort of guide you through it. Okay, we're looking at St. Joe Bay. The first one here, that's going to be the black line. So let's look at the black line because this is St. Joe Bay, and it goes all the way back to 1993. And you can see, I'm going to follow St. Joe Bay now, and you can see how up and down. We're talking about every 4 years during a presidential election, and it's held true where every 4 years it's been really low. But anyway, last year it was all the way down to 2. But you see, it started rebounding this year, and it's right here, and it's reading a 7 scallops per triangle, which is good. It's good and bad. It's bad. It's not. In the past, it's been fascinating in so many of them, but it's good that it is rebounding a little bit. It's still a very sensitive issue as far as having the number of scallops. They did a great job by delaying the start of it all the way back to July the 25th. I would urge you that go out there with if you're going to scallop and just get something you're going to eat. And don't worry about freezing any. You can always go to a seafood place and buy scallops and all, but don't try to. A lot of people I see in these other places. In fact, a guy posted a picture of that. I bet he had 40 bags of scallops that he and his friends, I guess, were freezing and all. But that's sort of what all of us did when St. Joe Bay back in the heyday, and I sort of see the results of it. So be careful. Just get something you're gonna cook that night or that weekend or something, and don't pig out on. Of course, you know what the limit is. But anyway, let's look at some of these other places. I love this chart as far as the information. I just don't like the way it's set up. Let's look at St. Mark's plunged last year. Look how the next year how St. Mark's, this white line, went up in 1 year. See, there, scallop is a resilient a little shell there. And then Steinhatchee, let's look at the dotted line, because a lot of y'all go to Steinhatchee. I'm not going to worry about the black dotted line. Remember last year how many Steinhatchee had? Look at them. They went down this year, but boy, they've been up there high. Now this next slide, let me show you this next slide because this is fascinating too. Let's look at, here's Gulf County, St. Joe Bay, Franklin Wakulla, Taylor Dixie. This is Steinhatchee. We're not going to worry about this last column, but really these two right here. Gulf this year in 2017, we're at 7. Last year we were at 2. The previous year on 11. So we've really hit it hard. There's been a lot of people out there. The average is 50. So you can see, if the average is 50, you can imagine what it was before 2012, how many scallops we were finding. Look at Steinhatchee last year, 189. I believe that's a record as the most they've ever found. That's an average of 189 per triangle. It dropped actually 2/3 down to 62 in 1 year. But look back in 2014, it was down to 18 then. So, but that's just a banner year. But they got hammered last year too, so that's why it's down. And you can see just sort of up and down. But that's fascinating. The average all time. This is bottom line right here. The average since they've been doing a study in 1993, St. Joe Bay is 50. Franklin Wakulla, that's down around Carabel, that's 39. And then of course Taylor, that's the Steinhatchee area, the average of 86. So you can see why that's the prime area to go as far as scalloping right there. So I just wanted to pass this information on to you. It's fascinating and they do the same scientific study each year. And like I said, they've been doing the study since '93. But a lot of us, we were scalloping there in the early '70s, and it was just unbelievable, that amount of scallops. And that's people have sort of discovered Steinhatchee way later than they did St. Joe Bay. But probably in the early days, if they were doing the studies way back in the '70s, they would put St. Joe Bay way up there because they were just so abundant. And this is before they had limits. And then the limits used to be, 5-gallon bucketfuls and all. But anyway, that's the 2017 study. Again, let me caution you about, just want to go out there and just have a great time doing it, and just get some scallops as a, don't try to go over the limit, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, now, also wrote down this past weekend, spent a week at the Cape and come back and forth here, and the water quality is still really good, but the water color is fascinating as far as the actual color of the water. It's that tannic acid. It's like that in West Bay, North Bay, Hatchie Bay. And what has happened, all the rain we had like a week before last, it filters on down and comes on down, and it gets up in, it just gets on into the water quality, and everything's sort of tea-colored or tannic acid. And as we were going through St. Joe Bay, what we did, we actually, I was actually scouting for scallops. I didn't get any scallops now, I was scouting for them. So we put in at the Cape, and we actually started here on this end right down here around Black's Island, and I'm going to show you where the scallops are, okay? everybody sort of pays attention right then. Again, here's Black's Island. Okay, Black's Island in here. There's some scallops back on this back side right through here, a few. There's just not a lot of scallops in here. Off these channels here, and here's Black's Island. So, I sort of looked in this area here, but it's very, very tea-colored all through here. Some of the spots I did not go to, but I know there were some scallops there. And then we worked our way on up. We just started on the south end and worked our way up, and we stopped, I'm going to put it right in the middle of the screen. We stopped on some of these areas right in here. So, because every now and then you can find some scallops up in here. And we didn't see any, but the water it's real tea-colored in here, but it started getting clear up in here. And then especially toward, as we went on north and got closer to the mouth, we had a great time with the kids, and went all the way up here and to the point. Now, let me tell you, the point is the point of the people call it, I'm going to the tip of the Cape. I'm going to the point of the Cape. Folks, that's the peninsula, okay? And the locals call it the point, and the tourists call it the tip. And so what we did, we actually, I don't do this much because this is like a little touristy thing, but we had the kids with us and we didn't have any schedule, so we anchor right here, and this is some really good, strong, really good area to go. But that water was tea-colored there too because it's coming out. Because what happens is it sort of just goes around and around. The tide was going out, very strong tide. I do want to caution you, and I worry about this a lot. The old shark hole, this is Pompano Point, this is old shark hole. All the locals call that a shark hole in here. It drops off really fast. You can look at your depth and all, you can see, about 4 or 5 feet, and boom, right down like 16 to 18, 20, just like that. And there's sharks out there, I can promise you, a lot of sharks. We saw 2 sharks that day. The first one was back here in the middle of the bay, but well, in fact, both of them were in the middle of the bay. I want to show you where the sharks were. One was right in here, and then that was a thresher shark, and then right in here, we saw, in fact, Mason was on the bow of the boat, and the boat was moving, and he actually jumped. I thought he was hurt. I thought the wasp had stung him. And Chip looked down, it was about a 10-foot bull shark, was just, taking care of business, so he was taking off. So always big sharks in St. Joe Bay, so I always want to tell you all those kind of things before you start going out there, let the kids get way off and all that. I always keep them with you and all, and we never had a shark attack that I know of in that area, but I know there are sharks out there, and I've always been very respectful of them. But we'll talk more about it, but basically, the water clarity of all places, St. Joe Bay usually the clearest, but it was, a lot of tannic colored water there. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Let's look at fishing game times today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers down in Port St. Joe. Folks, it was packed down there over the 4th. It was just packed with people. We're looking at 1:39 to 3:39 this morning, and this afternoon 2:03 to 4:03. That's our good time for today. I think I showed this a while back, but it's worth showing again. I'm not a bird expert, but I believe there are 4 females and 1 male. And even Gail laughed at that because that's humorous right there. That reminded me of the birds we had in our nest last week. Now I got a nice little email. I'm gonna show you this mahi. This is check this out. Is that some nice fish? And they're fun too. I'm gonna read you the email that came with it. Hey Coach, boating on the 4th of July. And this is from Reed over there, Reed Smith over there in Niceville, retired Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army. And he's been in contact with us before, very loyal viewer. Okay, this is what's going on in Destin on July 4th. Boating on the 4th is always an adventure, and it was crowded on the water out of Destin. Nothing was going right. Now listen to this story, because this is a great fishing story. Nothing was going right, and every place we anchored up, we had people pull up, and it was 15 miles out, and they needed to be 15 foot away. Besides a few beeliners, we were catching nothing but sharks and kudas. Just when I was ready to pull the lines in and head to the house, these mahi showed up. It was hot, of course, but the water was so flat and clear, I could literally see the first mahi hit a flatline cigar minnow swimming below a float 50 feet behind the boat. Leaving the first mahi in the water next to the boat, I could see the bull come up from below. I had my wife put another cigar minnow in the water and quickly hooked the second mahi, who after some amazing running and jumping quickly line wrapped the motors. Well, anyway, after 15 minutes of chaos and pandemonium, we had these 2 nice fish in the boat. And my wife just looked at each other and smiled satisfied. It always amazes me how exciting a catch can instantly make you forget about all of your troubles and make it seem all so worthwhile. That's the sport of it. And that's Reed Smith, retired U.S. Army Colonel. And looking at those fish, and if you fish, you know exactly what he's talking about. It's not going to be constantly catching fish most of the time. But you be out there a little bit of time, and all of a sudden it's sort of lackadaisical, and everybody just sort of about to fall asleep, and nothing going on. And then whoop, and when that fish hits, and he did something very smart. He left it in the water. Well, those mahi are very curious, and they're going to come from all over to see what's going on. And those little chicken dolphin, we'll call them little mahi, they do the same thing. You leave that first one in the water, and they're wiggling around and all, and they come and investigate it. So that's some really good stuff there. So thank you for sharing that with us. I've got another a nice tip from him. I'll show that on tomorrow's show. But one thing, again, I want to talk about the summer, what we call the summer slowdown, and we're right in the middle of it. And and we're approaching the dog days of summer. We'll talk about all that. Freshwater and saltwater. Again, we'll talk about going early and late, and that is so important. I'm gonna keep preaching that almost every day. I feel sometimes like a coach, and we run into, the same fundamental power play off tackle because it works, and we still run it. That's the way we did back in the day in football. If the play works, you just keep running until they stop it. Well, if you're catching fish early in the morning and not in the middle of the day, then you keep going early in the morning. It's as simple as that. So keep that in mind. Also, and we talked about how Dr. Sunseri on the other day, or last Friday, we talked about covering your face and all kind of these called buffs, or I call them masks and all. You put them. All it is, I got different colors, and I got 3 or 4 of these now. Like I said, when it first came out, I thought this is so silly. And some of the first ones I saw were by fishing guides, you just put them on your face. And like I said, last week in St. Joe Bay, I actually put it on my head and my face and actually covered my bald spot all in here because, you're down like that when you're snorkeling. And then I had a long sleeve shirt on. And I'm at a point in time in my life where I believe that's the best thing to do. You won't get a lot of kids doing it. Also, I've seen a couple of kids doing it with real light skin. So be aware of protecting it in the middle of the day and all. And even these they're very, very inexpensive and get them all kind of colors and all. And just don't walk in it. And when you finish fishing, don't walk in the junior store where it's still on because it looks a little suspicious. Make sure you take it off. Okay. All right, about to wrap things up. We've got a big show lineup this week. Got all kinds of stuff going on. Got some guests coming in, I think Thursday with Florida Forest Service, and they're offering a new program now for some landowners and doing different things, very advantageous to landowners. So we're trying to hit the woods underwater. Don't forget about the woods, and this time of year you can get out there, but watch out for those snakes. In fact, I'm going to go today out to the woods and just check on things, make sure the trees are growing and the grass needs cutting off. So anyway, thank y'all for watching Panhandle Outdoors, and the emails and all you send, the messages. If I have not replied to them, please send them again. Sometimes we just get lost in the shuffle. I'm going back and forth, sometimes trying to read at a red light and all, and then the light changes, somebody blows the horn. I don't do that, but anyway, stay in touch with me, okay? Call me or whatever. Thank you all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Have a great day today. Do something good for your fellow man, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.